He left her in labor. Then a divorced wealthy sow walked in, held her hand, and said, "You're mine now, Queen." "I can't pretend anymore," David had said, standing in their bedroom doorway like a stranger. His suitcase was already in his hand. "I thought I wanted this, but I don't. I'm not cut out to be a father. I'm not cut out to be married." Have you ever realized in one terrible moment that the person you trusted most was never really there at all? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The scream ripped through the hospital hallway like broken glass. Maya Rodriguez clutched the metal bed rail, her knuckles white as bone, watching the door where her husband had just disappeared. The contractions were 3 minutes apart. Her water had broken in the parking lot, and the man who promised to love her forever had chosen that moment to tell her he wasn't ready to be a father. "Ma'am, we need to get you to delivery now," the nurse said, but Maya couldn't move. Her phone buzzed with a text that made her blood turn to ice water. "I can't do this. I'm sorry. The papers are in the kitchen drawer." Have you ever felt your world collapse while your body was doing the most important thing it would ever do? Have you ever been abandoned at the exact moment you needed someone most? Tell me in the comments if you've ever felt completely alone when you should have felt completely loved. The delivery room doors swung open like the gates of hell. Maya was wheeled through, her hospital gown soaked with sweat and tears, when she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, confident, expensive shoes on cheap hospital floors. "Excuse me," a deep voice said. "I'm here for Maya Rodriguez." She turned her head, vision blurry with pain and shock, to see a man in a $3,000 suit standing in the doorway of the delivery room. Tall, dark hair touched with silver. Eyes the color of storm clouds. "I don't know you," she gasped between contractions. He stepped closer, and something in his face made the chaos in her chest go quiet. "You do now, sweetheart, and I'm not going anywhere." What happened next would change everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and what it means to be saved by a stranger. She had planned this moment for 9 months. The perfect birth, the loving husband, the happy family. Instead, she got divorce papers and a man who ran when she needed him most. 12 hours earlier, Maya had been folding tiny clothes in the nursery, humming to the baby who kicked against her ribs like he was already impatient to meet the world. The room was painted soft yellow, gender neutral because she and David wanted to be surprised. The crib was assembled. The hospital bag was packed. Everything was perfect. Everything was a lie. "I can't pretend anymore," David had said, standing in their bedroom doorway like a stranger. His suitcase was already in his hand. "I thought I wanted this, but I don't. I'm not cut out to be a father. I'm not cut out to be married." The words hit her like a slap. "David, I'm due any day. We've been married 3 years. We planned this baby. You planned this baby. I went along with it because I thought it would make you happy. But I can't live a life that isn't mine." Maya had stared at him, this man she'd loved since college. This man who used to trace letters on her pregnant belly and whisper promises to their unborn son. "So you're leaving? Right now? Well, I could go into labor at any moment. I am sorry." But he didn't look sorry. He looked relieved. The contractions started 20 minutes after his car disappeared down their street. Maya had called her mother, but she was in Florida visiting Maya's grandmother. She called her sister, but she was in the middle of her own crisis. She called David 17 times. He didn't answer. By the time she drove herself to the hospital, gripping the steering wheel and breathing through pain that felt like her body was being torn apart, Maya understood something fundamental about herself. She was completely alone. Have you ever realized in one terrible moment that the person you trusted most was never really there at all? Have you ever felt your heart break while your body was doing something miraculous? Share in the comments if you've ever had to be strong when you felt weakest. The hospital intake nurse looked at Maya with pity that made her skin crawl. "Where's your husband, honey?" "He's not coming," Maya said, and the words tasted like poison. "Do you have anyone else we can call?" Maya shook her head. Pride was the only thing holding her together now, and she wouldn't let it crack in front of strangers. The delivery room was cold and bright, and full of people who spoke in medical terms that sounded like a foreign language. Maya felt like she was drowning in white coats and beeping machines and the terrible knowledge that she was about to become a mother without anyone who loved her there to witness it. That's when the doors opened again. The man in the expensive suit moved through the room like he owned it. The medical staff stepped aside without question. He wasn't just confident, he was powerful in a way that made people listen before he even spoke. "I'm Alexander Sterling," he said to the doctor, then looked directly at Maya. "And this is my responsibility now." Maya tried to sit up, but another contraction hit her like a freight train. "I don't know who you are," she gasped. He moved to her bedside and did something that stopped her heart. He took her hand. His palm was warm and calloused, not soft like David's had been. Real hands. Working hands despite the expensive clothes. "You don't have to know me yet," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "But you need someone here who won't leave. And I give you my word, I won't leave." "What?" The question came out broken, desperate. His thumb traced across her knuckles, and she felt something she hadn't felt in hours. Safe. Because no woman should face this alone. Because every child deserves to come into a world where their mother feels protected. Because someone needs to be here to catch you when you fall. What would you do if a stranger offered you exactly what you needed at your most vulnerable moment? Would you trust them? Would you let them stay? Tell me in the comments what your instinct would be. The next contraction hit, and Maya squeezed his hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers. He didn't flinch. He didn't let go. And for the first time since David walked out, Maya thought she might actually survive this. He held her hand through 7 hours of labor like he'd been born to do it, and she couldn't understand why a stranger's touch felt more like home than her husband's ever had. Alexander Sterling had walked into that hospital with one purpose: to keep a promise he'd made to his dying mother. When you see someone drowning, she'd whispered in her final days, you don't ask if they deserve saving. You just save them. Maya Rodriguez was drowning. He'd heard about her situation through his company's medical partnership with the hospital. Abandoned wife, no family present. Husband who'd filed for divorce the same day she went into labor. The details had hit him like a punch to the chest because he knew what it felt like to be left when you needed someone most. "Breathe with me," he told Maya as another contraction peaked. "In through your nose, out through your mouth. You've got this." "I can't," she sobbed, sweat plastering her dark hair to her forehead. "I can't do this alone." "You're not alone." He said it with such certainty that something in her chest unclenched slightly. "I'm right here." The nurses had stopped questioning his presence after he'd quietly spoken to the charge nurse and shown her his medical power of attorney forms. Papers he'd had his lawyer draft the moment he'd heard about Maya's situation. Legal documents that gave him the right to be there, to make decisions if needed, to be the advocate she didn't have. Maya didn't know about the papers. She only knew that this stranger with kind eyes and steady hands was keeping her anchored when everything else in her world was falling apart. "What's your name?" she asked during a brief break between contractions. "Alexander, but my friends call me Alex." "Are we friends?" The question came out smaller than she'd intended. His smile was soft, genuine. "We are now. Have you ever met someone who felt familiar, even though you'd never seen them before? Someone whose presence made you feel calmer just by being there? Drop a heart in the comments if you've experienced that instant connection. Why are you doing this?" Maya asked as the pain built again. "You don't even know me." Alex was quiet for a moment, his thumb still tracing gentle circles on her hand. "My ex-wife left me during the worst time of my life. I know what it feels like to face something terrible alone. I swore I'd never let that happen to someone else if I could prevent it." The honesty in his voice made Maya look at him differently. This wasn't pity. This wasn't charity. This was someone who understood abandonment from the inside out. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't apologize for him," Alex said, and there was steel in his voice now. "A man who walks away from his wife in labor isn't a man at all." The doctor announced that Maya was fully dilated. The real work was about to begin. Maya felt panic rise in her throat like bile. "I'm scared," she admitted. Alex leaned closer, his face inches from hers. "Fear is normal, but you're the strongest person in this room right now. Your body knows what to do. And I'll be right here the entire time." The next 2 hours were a blur of pain and pushing, and Alex's voice in her ear, steady as a lighthouse beam. He didn't look away when things got messy. He didn't flinch when she screamed. He just stayed solid and unmoving, like he'd promised. When her son finally emerged, crying and perfect and covered in the proof of her body's incredible work, Maya collapsed back against the pillows and felt something she hadn't expected. Complete. "He's beautiful," Alex said, and there were tears in his eyes as he looked at the baby the nurses were cleaning. "You did that. You brought life into the world." Maya was crying too, but for the first time in hours, they weren't tears of pain or fear. They were tears of relief, of joy, of something that felt dangerously close to gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you," she said as the nurse placed her son on her chest. Alex stood up slowly, smoothing down his expensive suit that was now wrinkled from hours in an uncomfortable hospital chair. "You don't need to thank me. You just need to know that you're not alone anymore. What does it mean when a stranger shows you more loyalty in one night than your spouse showed you in 3 years? When someone's presence becomes the thing that saves you?" Share your thoughts below. As Alex turned to leave, Maya felt panic flare in her chest. "Wait, will I see you again?" He paused at the door, and when he looked back, there was something in his expression that made her pulse quicken. "Count on it, Queen." She woke up thinking the night in the expensive suit had been a dream born of desperation, until she found the flowers with a note that changed everything. Maya opened her eyes to sunlight streaming through hospital windows and the soft sounds of her son breathing in the bassinet beside her bed. For a moment, everything felt normal. Perfect even. Then reality crashed back. David was gone. She was alone. She was a single mother with no plan and no support system, except for the massive arrangement of white roses on her bedside table. The card was thick, expensive paper with her name written in bold handwriting. "Maya, every queen deserves flowers after conquering the world. You were magnificent." Alex, her heart did something complicated in her chest. A stranger had stayed with her through the hardest night of her life, and now he was sending her flowers like she mattered. Like what she'd done was worthy of celebration. "Those are gorgeous," said Jenny, the morning nurse. "Your husband has good taste." "He's not my husband," Maya said quietly, then realized how that sounded. "I mean, he's not the father. My husband left." Jenny's expression softened with understanding rather than pity. "Mr. Sterling left specific instructions about your care. Private room. No visitors unless you approve them. And all your meals are covered for the next 3 days." Maya blinked. "He paid for my room. He also left his card and said to call him when you're ready to go home. Something about making sure you and the baby get settled safely." The baby, her son. Maya looked down at the tiny human sleeping peacefully, completely unaware that his father had abandoned him before he'd even taken his first breath. The thought made her chest tight with rage and protective love in equal measure. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "How are you feeling this morning? How's our little prince?" "Alex, our little prince." The words made something warm and dangerous bloom in her stomach. She typed back, "Sore but okay. He's perfect. Thank you for everything last night." The response came immediately. "You did all the hard work. I just held your hand." "What did you name him?" Maya stared at the question. She and David had planned to name the baby together after he was born. They'd had a list of possibilities. Now, those names felt tainted, connected to a future that would never exist. "I haven't decided yet," she typed. "Take your time. The right name will come to you. Get some rest. I'll check on you later." Have you ever had someone care about the details of your life when they had no obligation to? Someone who asked the right questions at the right time? Tell me in the comments about a time when someone's attention felt like a gift. Maya set the phone down and tried to make sense of what was happening. This man, this stranger, was being kinder to her than her own husband had been in months. He was interested in her baby, concerned about her recovery, paying for things she couldn't afford. It felt too good to be true, which meant it probably was. The cynical voice in her head whispered warnings. Rich men don't help poor women without wanting something in return. Nobody is that generous without an agenda. You're vulnerable, and he's taking advantage. But then she remembered the way he'd looked at her son when he was born. The genuine tears in his eyes. The gentle way he'd wiped her face with a cool cloth when the pain got overwhelming. It hadn't felt like manipulation. It had felt like care. Her phone rang. Maya's heart jumped, hoping it was Alex, but the caller ID made her stomach drop. David. Hello. She kept her voice flat, emotionless. Maya, I heard the baby came. Is everything okay? The casualness in his tone made her want to throw the phone across the room. Everything is fine. No thanks to you. Look, I know I handled things badly, but you left me in labor, David. You filed for divorce while I was giving birth to our son. There's no but that fixes that. I was scared. I panicked. Maybe we can work something out. No. The word came out stronger than she felt. You made your choice. I'm making mine. She hung up before he could respond and immediately felt lighter, like she'd been holding her breath for hours and could finally exhale. When would you know that someone has shown their true character? When they run when things get hard, or when they stay when things get harder? Share your thoughts below about second chances and whether some actions are unforgivable. Maya looked at her son, then at the beautiful flowers from a man who'd proven more trustworthy in one night than her husband had in 3 years. Maybe it was time to stop expecting the worst and start believing she deserved better. When he walked into her rundown apartment building like he belonged there, she realized this wasn't just kindness. This was a man who saw her world and chose to enter it anyway. 3 days later, Maya sat in her cramped one-bedroom apartment staring at the hospital discharge papers and trying not to panic. The baby, she'd finally named him Gabriel, slept in the second-hand crib she'd bought months ago when she thought David would be there to help assemble it. Now, the wobbly construction seemed like a metaphor for everything in her life, barely holding together and completely insufficient. Her phone had been buzzing all morning with texts from Alex. Check-ins about how she was feeling, questions about whether she needed anything, offers to bring groceries or help with errands. Each message felt like a lifeline, but also like borrowed time. How long would this kindness last? When would he realize she had nothing to offer in return? The knock at her door came at exactly 2 p.m., just like he'd promised in his text. Maya opened it expecting to see Alex in another expensive suit, looking out of place in her building's narrow hallway with its peeling paint and permanent smell of cooking grease. Instead, he stood there in dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, holding 2 bags of groceries and looking completely at ease. How did you find my apartment? She asked, stepping aside to let him in. You gave a hospital your address for the discharge papers. I hope you don't mind that I asked. He paused in her tiny living room, taking in the mismatched furniture and carefully organized space. This is nice. It feels like a home. Maya followed his gaze, seeing her apartment through his eyes. The couch she'd bought at a thrift store and re-upholstered herself. The bookshelf made from milk crates and plywood. The gallery wall of family photos that covered the crack in the plaster. It wasn't much, but it was hers. You don't have to pretend, she said. I know it's not what you're used to. Alex set the groceries on her small kitchen counter and turned to look at her directly. What I'm used to is houses that cost more than most people make in a decade, but feel cold as museums. This place has life in it. It has you in it. The way he said you made heat rise in her cheeks. Have you ever had someone see beauty in something you were embarrassed by? Someone who looked at your life and saw value instead of lack? Tell me in the comments about a time when someone's perspective changed how you saw yourself. Gabriel started crying from the bedroom, and Maya felt the familiar jolt of new mother panic. I should get him. Go ahead. I'll put these groceries away.
When Maya returned with Gabriel in her arms, she found Alex had not only unpacked the food, but had somehow managed to organize her entire kitchen. The groceries he'd brought weren't random. They were specifically chosen for a nursing mother. High-protein snacks, fresh fruits, herbal teas that promoted milk production. How did you know what to buy? She asked, settling into her rocking chair to feed Gabriel. I did some research. Alex sat on her couch, careful to maintain a respectful distance, but close enough that she could see the genuine interest in his eyes as he watched her with the baby. I wanted to make sure you had what you needed. Research. Maya shook her head, smiling despite herself. You researched postpartum nutrition for a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore. The simple statement hung in the air between them. loaded with implications Maya wasn't ready to examine too closely. "Can I ask you something?" she said as Gabriel latched on and began nursing contentedly. "Anything. Why do you care? Really? I know you said you understood being abandoned, but this feels like more than empathy. This feels personal." Alex was quiet for a long moment, his hands clasped loosely between his knees. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd heard it before. "I was married for 5 years. We tried to have children for 3 of those years. When we finally got pregnant, I thought it was the beginning of everything I'd ever wanted." He paused, looking out her small window at the brick building across the street. "She miscarried at 20 weeks. We found out the baby would have been a boy." Maya's breath caught. "Alex, I'm so sorry. The loss broke something in her. In us." She blamed me for not being supportive enough during the pregnancy. I blamed myself for not knowing how to help her heal. We became strangers living in the same house. His eyes found hers again. "She left on what would have been our son's first birthday. Said she couldn't look at me without seeing everything we'd lost." The vulnerability in his confession made Maya's chest ache. "That's why you stayed with me. Because you know what it feels like to lose the family you thought you'd have. I stayed because you deserve someone who wouldn't run. And because watching you bring Gabriel into the world." He smiled, but there was sadness in it. It felt like witnessing a miracle I'd given up believing in. What do you do when someone's broken places fit perfectly with your broken places? When their scars make them exactly the person you need? Share below if you've ever found healing in helping someone else heal. Gabriel had fallen asleep at her breast, milk-drunk and peaceful. Maya looked down at his perfect face, then up at Alex, and felt something shift between them. Something deeper than gratitude, more dangerous than friendship. "Do you want to hold him?" she asked softly. Alex's entire expression transformed. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." The moment his hands cradles her baby, she knew she was in trouble. Not because he might hurt them, but because watching him be gentle made her want things she'd sworn off forever. Alex approached Gabriel like he was made of spun glass, his large hands suddenly uncertain as Maya transferred the sleeping baby into his arms. The transformation was immediate and devastating. This powerful man who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions went completely soft, his entire being focused on the tiny human nestled against his chest. "He's so small," Alex whispered, his voice filled with wonder. "Was I ever this small?" Maya settled back in her chair, watching a scene that felt both intimate and impossible. Hard to imagine, isn't it, that we all started this helpless? Alex traced one finger along Gabriel's cheek with infinite gentleness. "He looks like you. Same nose, same stubborn chin." "Stubborn?" Maya laughed. "You've known me for 4 days. Long enough to recognize determination when I see it." His eyes met hers over Gabriel's head. "You drove yourself to the hospital in labor. You delivered a baby without any family support. You're raising him alone in a world that makes everything harder for women like you. If that's not stubborn determination, I don't know what is." "Women like you." The phrase should have stung, but the way Alex said it made it sound like a compliment rather than a judgment. "What do you mean, women like me?" she asked. "Strong, independent, too proud to ask for help even when you desperately need it." Gabriel stirred in his arms, and Alex automatically began swaying slightly, a motion that seemed to come naturally. Women who've been let down so many times that they'd rather struggle alone than risk being disappointed again. The accuracy of his assessment made Maya's chest tight. "You think you have me figured out. I think we're more alike than you want to admit. Have you ever had someone see straight through your defenses to the truth you were hiding from yourself? Someone who called you out with kindness instead of judgment? Tell me in the comments if you've ever felt truly seen by someone who barely knew you." Gabriel began fussing, and Alex immediately looked to Maya for guidance. "What does he need?" "Probably a diaper change. There are supplies in the bedroom." "Show me." Maya blinked. "You want to learn to change his diaper?" "I want to be useful." There was something vulnerable in the admission. "I want to help with things that actually matter." In her tiny bedroom, Maya watched Alex fumble with the diaper tabs and felt something dangerous unfurling in her chest. David had changed exactly 3 diapers in a hospital before Gabriel was born, practice runs that he complained about the entire time. This man was learning because he wanted to be helpful, not because it was expected. "Like this," Maya said, stepping closer to guide his hands. Her fingers brushed his as she showed him how to fold the diaper properly, and the contact sent electricity up her arm. Alex went completely still. "Maya, what? You should know that touching you is becoming a problem for me." The honesty in his voice made her pulse race. "What kind of problem?" Instead of answering, he finished securing Gabriel's diaper and lifted the baby, using the motion to put space between himself and Maya. "The kind where I forget that you just had a baby 4 days ago. The kind where I forget that you're vulnerable and I'm supposed to be helping, not wanting." The word wanting hung in the air like a lit match. Maya felt heat pool low in her belly, followed immediately by panic. "Alex, I can't. I know." His voice was gentle but strained. "I know you're not ready. I know you're healing. I know this is complicated in about a dozen ways I haven't even thought of yet." "Then why tell me?" He looked at her directly, and the intensity in his gray eyes made her breath catch. "Because I want you to know that what I'm feeling isn't pity. It's not charity. When I look at you, I don't see someone who needs saving. I see someone I'm falling for, and that scares the hell out of me." Gabriel chose that moment to spit up all over Alex's expensive sweater. Maya rushed to get a towel, but Alex was already laughing. "Well, that's one way to break the tension," he said, wiping Gabriel's mouth with practiced ease. "I'm so sorry about your sweater. It's just clothing, Maya. This is life." He kissed Gabriel's forehead gently. "This is what matters." Watching him be tender with her son while wearing baby spit up like a badge of honor, Maya felt her carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. This man wasn't just offering help. He was offering something far more dangerous. The possibility of a real partnership with someone who saw her strength instead of her struggles. What would you do if someone showed up in your life and made you want to believe in fairy tales again? Would you trust it? Would you run? Share your thoughts below about second chances and unexpected love. As Alex prepared to leave, Gabriel started crying again. Without thinking, Maya reached for Alex's hand, needing the comfort of his touch as she tried to soothe her son. "Stay," she said softly. "Just a little longer." The smile that spread across his face was worth every risk she was taking. She called him at midnight, not because she needed saving, but because for the first time in her life, she wanted someone who wanted her back. 2 weeks had passed since Gabriel's birth, and Maya was drowning in the beautiful exhaustion of new motherhood. Her body was healing, but slowly. Her heart was healing too, though she wasn't ready to admit that the man who showed up every evening with dinner and stayed to help with Gabriel might have something to do with it. Tonight was different. Gabriel had been fussy all day, crying inconsolably despite being fed, changed, and rocked. Maya had tried everything she could think of, and by 11 p.m., she was crying almost as hard as her son. That's when she did something that surprised her. She called Alex. "Maya, is everything okay?" His voice was alert despite the late hour. "I don't know what's wrong with him," she said, tears making her voice thick. "He won't stop crying. I've tried everything. I'm coming over." "Alex, you don't have to. I'm already getting dressed." 20 minutes. He hung up before she could protest, and Maya felt relief flood through her chest. Not because she couldn't handle this alone, but because she didn't want to. When Alex arrived, he didn't ask questions or offer solutions. He simply took Gabriel from her arms and began walking around the apartment, humming something low and rhythmic. Within minutes, the baby's cries softened to hiccups, then stopped entirely. "How did you do that?" Maya asked, collapsing onto her couch. "Sometimes they just need a different heartbeat," Alex said, settling into the rocking chair with Gabriel against his chest. Different rhythm, different energy. Maya watched them together, this powerful man and her tiny son, and felt something dangerous shift in her chest. Alex looked natural holding Gabriel like they belonged together. Like this was his child too. "You're good at this," she said softly. "I want to be." He looked up at her, and the honesty in his gray eyes made her pulse quicken. "I want to be good at everything that matters to you." The confession hung between them, loaded with implications Maya wasn't sure she was ready for. Have you ever had someone care about your child like they were their own? Someone who showed up not because they had to, but because they wanted to be part of your world? Tell me in the comments about the moment you knew someone was genuinely invested in your family. Alex, what are we doing here? Maya asked, curling her legs under her on the couch. Really? Because this feels like more than friendship, but I don't know what to call it. I don't know either, he admitted. I've never felt like this about someone else's child. I've never wanted to be part of someone's life this badly. Even though I come with complications, even though I'm broke and exhausted and my body is still healing from childbirth. Alex's expression grew fierce, especially because of those things. Maya, you think your circumstances make you less appealing, but they make you more real, more worth fighting for. Gabriel had fallen asleep in Alex's arms, his tiny fist curled around Alex's finger. The sight made Maya's ovaries ache in a way that had nothing to do with postpartum recovery. Can I tell you something? She said. Anything. David never looked at Gabriel the way you do. Even before he left, even when we thought we were happy, he never held him like that. Like Gabriel was precious instead of just expected. Alex's jaw tightened. David was an idiot who didn't know what he had. Maybe. Or maybe he was honest about what he could give. Maybe that's better than pretending. Is that what you think I'm doing? Pretending? Maya met his eyes across the small room. I think you're a good man who's trying to help. But I also think you have options I don't have. When this gets hard, and it will get hard, you can walk away. I can't. Alex stood carefully, still holding Gabriel, and moved to sit on the coffee table directly in front of Maya. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, see the gold flecks in his gray eyes. Look at me, he said quietly. Really look at me. Maya did, and what she saw there made her breath catch. I'm not David. I'm not going anywhere. And the reason I know that isn't because I'm a better man than him. It's because what I feel for you and Gabriel isn't something I can turn off or walk away from, even if I wanted to. Alex, I'm falling in love with you, Maya. With both of you. And that terrifies me because I've never had anything this good, this real. But it also makes me want to be the man you and Gabriel deserve. What do you do when someone offers you everything you've ever wanted, but were afraid to ask for? When they see your fears and promise to stay anyway? Share below if you've ever been loved despite your complications. Maya felt tears start again, but these were different tears. I'm scared. So am I. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Gabriel stirred in his arms, and Alex automatically began the gentle, swaying motion that seemed to come naturally to him now. Watching him care for her son with such tenderness, Maya felt her last defenses crumble. Stay tonight, she whispered, just to help with Gabriel. Alex's smile was soft and knowing. Just to help with Gabriel. But they both knew it was about so much more than that. She woke up to find him making breakfast in her kitchen like he belonged there. And for the first time since Gabriel's birth, she let herself imagine what always might look like. Maya opened her eyes to the smell of coffee and something that definitely wasn't the instant oatmeal she'd been surviving on. Sunlight streamed through her bedroom curtains, and for a disorienting moment, she couldn't remember why she felt so rested. Then she remembered. Alex had stayed. He'd slept on her couch after taking the middle-of-the-night feeding shift, insisting that she needed uninterrupted sleep. Maya had protested, but not very hard. The truth was having someone else share the load had felt like luxury beyond measure. Gabriel was still sleeping in his crib, but the sounds from the kitchen told her Alex was awake and apparently cooking. Maya grabbed her robe and padded barefoot to find him standing at her small stove, his dress shirt from yesterday wrinkled and sleeves rolled up, making what looked like actual pancakes. "Good morning," he said without turning around, like he'd sensed her presence. "Coffee's ready. How you take it?" "Black." Maya leaned against the doorframe, watching him move around her kitchen with easy confidence. "Where did the pancake ingredients come from?" "I definitely didn't have those. I may have run to the corner store while Gabriel was sleeping. He's a surprisingly good wingman for early morning grocery runs." "You took my baby to the store?" Maya felt a flutter of panic and something else, something that felt dangerously close to domestic bliss. "He loved it. Flirted with the cashier. charmed an old lady in the cereal aisle. Kids got game. Alex flipped a pancake with practiced ease. I hope that's okay. I left a note in case you woke up. Maya found the note on her counter. Gone for supplies. Gabriel's helping. Back soon. The casual intimacy of it. The assumption that she'd trust him with her baby. The comfortable way he'd made himself at home in her space. Should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel something she hadn't felt in years. Supported. You didn't have to do this, she said, accepting the cup of coffee he handed her. I wanted to. When's the last time someone made you breakfast? Maya had to think about it. Honestly, I can't remember. Alex's expression grew soft and serious. Then it's been too long. Have you ever had someone do something simple that felt monumental? Someone who showed care through actions instead of words? Tell me in the comments about the small gestures that meant everything to you. They ate breakfast in comfortable quiet, Gabriel sleeping peacefully in his bassinet beside the table. Maya found herself stealing glances at Alex, trying to reconcile this domestic scene with everything she knew about his life. The expensive suits, the corporate responsibilities, the world of privilege she'd never been part of. What are you thinking about? Alex asked, catching her staring. This feels too normal, Maya said honestly. You making breakfast in my kitchen, helping with Gabriel. It feels like playing house. Is that a bad thing? It is if it's not real. Alex set down his fork and looked at her directly. Maya, what would convince you that this is real? That I'm not going anywhere? I don't know. That's the problem. Maya wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, using the warmth to steady herself. I believed David was real for 3 years. I believed he wanted the life we were building. And I was completely wrong. What if I told you I've been thinking about this for weeks? What if I said I've already started looking at houses with better school districts? What if I admitted that I've been imagining Gabriel's first steps, his first words, teaching him to ride a bike? Maya's breath caught. Alex. What if I said I've been carrying around a ring for 5 days? Not because I'm rushing you, but because I want you to know this isn't temporary for me. The coffee mug slipped from Maya's suddenly nerveless fingers, coffee splashing across the table. You have a ring? Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, setting it on the table between them like a challenge. I'm not asking you to wear it today. I'm not even asking you to open it. I'm just asking you to know that when I say I'm not going anywhere, I mean it in every possible way. Maya stared at the box like it might explode. You've known me for 3 weeks. I've known you were special since the first night. I've known I was falling for you since the first morning. I knew I wanted forever with you the first time I held Gabriel, and he looked at me like I was his father. The honesty in his voice was devastating. Maya felt tears start, but she couldn't tell if they were happy or terrified. This is crazy, she whispered. Crazy good or crazy bad? Gabriel chose that moment to wake up, his soft cries filling the sudden silence. Alex immediately stood to get him, lifting the baby with the practiced ease of someone who'd been doing it for years instead of weeks. Hey, buddy, Alex murmured, settling Gabriel against his shoulder. Did we wake you with all our serious talking? Watching him comfort her son, Maya felt something click into place in her chest. This wasn't about the ring or the grand gestures or the promises of forever. This was about the way Alex held Gabriel like he was already his. The way he'd shown up consistently, reliably, without being asked. What does love look like when it's real instead of desperate? When someone chooses your chaos instead of running from it? Share your thoughts below about the difference between being saved and being chosen. Alex, Maya said softly. Yeah. Can I see the ring? His smile was brighter than the morning sun streaming through her windows. The ring was perfect, but the phone call that came 30 seconds after she put it on threatened to destroy everything they'd built. The ring was a simple solitaire, elegant and understated. Nothing flashy or overwhelming, just beautiful in its clean lines and perfect proportions. Maya slipped it onto her right hand, not ready for her left, but wanting to feel its weight, its promise. It's beautiful, she said, holding her hand up to catch the light. It's temporary, Alex said, kissing Gabriel's forehead. When you're ready for forever, we'll pick something out together. Something that's completely yours. Maya felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. Everything about this moment felt surreal. The ring on her finger, this man holding her baby like he was meant to be there, the casual way he talked about their future like it was already decided. That's when her phone rang. Maya glanced at the screen and felt her blood turn to ice water. It's David. Alex's expression went hard. Don't answer it. I have to. He's still Gabriel's father, legally. Maya, but she was already swiping to accept the call. What do you want, David? I want to talk. I've been thinking about everything, and I made a mistake. I want to come home. Maya felt the floor drop out from under her. Excuse me. I miss you. I miss our life. I know I screwed up, but we can fix this. We can be a family. David, you left me in labor. You filed for divorce. You haven't even met your son. I was scared. I panicked. But I'm ready now. I want to be a father. Maya looked at Alex, who was watching her with controlled tension, still holding Gabriel protectively against his chest. The contrast was stark, David calling when it was convenient for him, Alex holding her baby at 7 in the morning because that's when babies needed to be held. Where have you been for 3 weeks? Maya asked. I needed time to think, to figure out what I wanted. And what about what I wanted? What Gabriel needed? Maya, please. I know you're angry, but we have history. We have a connection. You can't just throw that away. Have you ever had someone try to come back into your life just when you'd finally started moving forward? Someone who thought their timing mattered more than yours? Tell me in the comments about the audacity of people who leave and expect to return on their terms. Maya felt anger rise in her throat like bile. I'm not throwing anything away, David. You already did that when you walked out. Who's the guy, Maya? The question hit like a slap. What? I drove by yesterday. I saw some man leaving your apartment early in the morning. You moved on pretty quickly for someone who was supposedly devastated. Maya felt Alex tense beside her, his protective instincts clearly activated. Gabriel, sensing the shift in energy, began to fuss. You were watching my apartment? I wanted to see how you were doing. Instead, I find out you're already shacking up with someone new. What kind of example is that for our son? The hypocrisy was staggering. Maya felt her vision go white around the edges. What kind of example? Are you serious right now? Maya, I'm trying to be reasonable here. Reasonable? Maya's voice rose, and Gabriel started crying. Alex immediately began the gentle bouncing motion that usually soothed him. You want to know what's reasonable? Reasonable is the man who stayed with me through labor when my husband ran. Reasonable is someone who shows up every day to help with your son because he cares, not because he's legally obligated. Maya, reasonable is someone who makes me breakfast and changes diapers and doesn't think taking care of a baby is women's work. Reasonable is someone who sees Gabriel as a gift, not a burden. Alex was staring at her with something that looked like awe, still gently swaying with Gabriel, who was beginning to calm down. So you were sleeping with him, David said, and Maya could hear the ugliness in his voice now. How long did you wait? A week? 2? That's none of your business. Like hell it's not. That's my son, he's around. Your son. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. You mean the son you've never held? The son whose birth you missed because you were too busy feeling sorry for yourself? That son. Alex stepped closer, not interfering, but making his presence known. Solid. Supportive. There. David, I'm going to say this once, so listen carefully. You had your chance to be a husband and a father. You chose to leave. I'm choosing to move forward. The divorce papers you filed are still active. Sign them. Maya, wait. And if you come by my apartment again without calling first, if you follow me or watch my building or do anything that makes me feel unsafe, I'll call the police. Are we clear? You can't keep me from my son. I'm not keeping you from anything. You kept yourself from everything that mattered. Gabriel and I are building a life now. A good life. With someone who knows what commitment actually means. What do you do when your past shows up demanding space in your present? When someone who hurt you tries to guilt you for healing? Share below about setting boundaries with people who think they own your forgiveness. Maya hung up before David could respond and immediately felt lighter, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks and could finally exhale. "You okay?" Alex asked softly. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd held her baby through his crying fit, who defended their relationship without saying a word, who'd stayed calm while she fought her own battle. "I'm perfect," she said, and meant it. "We're perfect." Gabriel had stopped crying entirely, content in Alex's arms. The ring on Maya's finger caught the light again, and this time it didn't feel like a maybe. It felt like a promise she was ready to make. She kissed him like she was marking territory, like she was done pretending this was temporary, like she was finally ready to choose her own happiness over everyone else's opinions. The silence after Maya hung up on David stretched between them, charged with electricity and unspoken possibilities. Gabriel had fallen back asleep in Alex's arms, completely oblivious to the adult drama swirling around him. Maya stood there, still holding her phone, feeling like she just jumped off a cliff and wasn't sure she was flying or falling. "That felt good," she said finally. "Which part?" Alex asked, settling Gabriel back in his bassinet with practiced gentleness. "All of it. Standing up to him. Defending you. Defending us." Maya set her phone down and looked at Alex directly, admitting that there is an us. Alex straightened slowly, his gray eyes intense. "Is there an us? I want there to be." The words came out stronger than she felt, but once they were spoken, Maya realized they were completely true. "I want there to be an us so badly it scares me. Maya, I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm tired of protecting myself from good things because bad things might happen." Alex stepped closer, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his eyes, smell the subtle cologne that had become as familiar as home. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying yes." "Yes to what?" Maya reached up and framed his face with her hands, noting absently that the ring he'd given her caught the light against his skin. "Yes to you. Yes to this. Yes to taking a chance on something that feels too good to be true, but might actually be real." The kiss that followed was different from any they'd shared before. It wasn't gentle or cautious or respectful of her recent motherhood. It was claiming and desperate and full of 3 weeks of built-up tension finally finding release. Alex backed her against the kitchen counter, his hands tangling in her hair, and Maya felt heat pool low in her belly for the first time since Gabriel's birth. Her body was responding, coming alive under Alex's touch in ways she'd forgotten were possible. "Maya," he breathed against her mouth. "Tell me what you want." "You," she said without hesitation. "I want you. All of you. No more holding back. No more taking things slow." Have you ever reached a point where patience felt like punishment? Where playing it safe felt more dangerous than taking a risk? Tell me in the comments about the moment you decided to stop protecting yourself from love. Alex's hands found the belt of her robe, but he paused. "Are you sure? I mean, medically." "I got cleared last week." Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I was too embarrassed to tell you." "You were cleared and didn't tell me?" Alex's voice was rough with want and something that sounded like disbelief. "I wasn't ready then. I'm ready now." What followed was a claiming that had nothing to do with gentleness and everything to do with hunger. Alex lifted Maya onto the counter, his mouth trailing down her neck while his hands relearned the curves of her body. She wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him closer, needing to feel all of him against all of her. "The bedroom," she gasped. "Gabriel, we'll sleep for another hour if we're lucky." They made it to the bedroom in a tangle of limbs and desperate kisses, clothes disappearing between the kitchen and the bed. When Alex laid Maya down on her sheets, she felt beautiful for the first time since Gabriel's birth. Not despite the changes in her body, but because of the way Alex looked at her, like she was everything he'd ever wanted. "Are you sure?" he asked one more time, poised above her. "I've never been more sure of anything," Maya said, pulling him down to her. What followed was passionate and intense, and absolutely nothing like the careful, scheduled intimacy she'd shared with David. This was raw and real and full of emotion that went far beyond physical desire. When Alex moved inside her, Maya felt like she was finally coming home to herself. Afterward, they lay tangled together, breathing hard and glowing with sweat and satisfaction. Maya traced patterns on Alex's chest, marveling at the solid reality of him beside her. "No regrets?" Alex asked softly. "Only that we waited so long," Maya said, then hesitated. "Alex, I need to tell you something." "Anything." David was right about one thing. I didn't move on quickly, maybe too quickly by some people's standards. Alex turned to face her fully, his expression serious. "Do you think you moved on too quickly?" "No, I think I moved on at exactly the right speed for me. I think I found something worth moving toward instead of something worth running from." "And what's that?" Maya smiled, feeling bold and certain and completely unlike the broken woman who'd been abandoned in a hospital 3 weeks ago. "A man who shows up, a man who stays, a man who makes me believe in forever again." Alex's answering smile was brilliant. "Forever sounds perfect to me." Gabriel's cry from the other room interrupted them, but neither moved immediately. They had the rest of their lives to figure out the logistics of love and babies and blended families. What matters most? Perfect timing or perfect love? Someone who waits for the right moment, or someone who makes every moment feel right? Share your thoughts below about finding love when you least expect it, but need it most. For now, this was enough. Alex reaching for his clothes, Maya pulling on a robe, both of them moving toward Gabriel's cries like the family they'd somehow become. 3 months later, she realized the most dangerous thing about falling in love with the right person wasn't the fear of getting hurt. It was the fear of having everything you'd ever wanted and not knowing how to keep it. Maya stood in the doorway of what used to be her small apartment, and what was now somehow a home that felt twice as big, watching Alex attempt to assemble a new high chair while Gabriel provided commentary from his bouncy seat. The baby had developed what Alex called opinions about everything, and apparently the chair assembly process was not meeting his standards. "I think you're putting the tray on backward," Maya said, settling onto the couch with a cup of coffee that was still hot, a luxury that had become possible since Alex started spending most nights on her couch and most mornings helping with Gabriel's routine. "Gabriel thinks so, too," Alex said, holding up the instruction manual. "This thing has more parts than my first car. Your first car was probably a Mercedes. BMW, actually, but point taken." Maya watched him work, noting the way he'd changed in the past month. The expensive suits had given way to jeans and casual shirts on weekends. He'd learned to function on broken sleep and interrupted conversations. He kept baby wipes in his car and knew the difference between Gabriel's hungry cry and his tired cry. Most importantly, he'd stopped treating their relationship like something fragile that might break if handled too roughly. They'd fallen into a rhythm that felt natural, sustainable, real. "Maya," Alex said, not looking up from the chair, "I've been thinking about something. Should I be worried? I want to move in." Officially, Maya nearly choked on her coffee. "What? I mean, I'm here most nights anyway. My clothes are in your closet, my toothbrush is in your bathroom, and Gabriel cries when I leave." Alex finally looked up, his expression serious. "I want to make this official. I want us to be a real family. We are a real family. You know what I mean? I want to wake up here every morning, not just the mornings when Gabriel keeps us up all night. I want to pay half the rent and argue about whose turn it is to do dishes and have my name on the lease." Have you ever had someone want the boring parts of your life as much as the exciting parts? Someone who wanted to argue about groceries and share utility bills? Tell me in the comments about the moment you knew someone was serious about building something real with you. Maya set down her coffee cup, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. "Alex, this place is tiny. You're used to space and luxury, and I'm used to being alone in a house that costs more than most people make in a decade. I'd rather be crowded here with you and Gabriel than comfortable anywhere else. What about your place? I'll keep it for now. Maybe we'll move there eventually, when Gabriel's older and needs more space. But right now, this is home. You two are home." Gabriel chose that moment to babble something that sounded remarkably like Dada, and both adults froze. "Did he just?" Maya started. "He did," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. "He said Dada." "Alex doesn't know. I mean, you're not technically. I am if you'll let me be." The simple statement hung in the air between them, loaded with implications and possibilities and the kind of hope that made Maya's chest tight. "I want that," she said softly. "I want you to be his dad. I want Gabriel to grow up knowing what it looks like when a man chooses to stay." Alex abandoned the high chair completely and crossed to where Maya sat, pulling her into his arms. "I'm not going anywhere. Ever. You know that, right?" "I'm starting to." "What would it take for you to completely believe it?" Maya considered the question seriously. 3 months ago, she would have said nothing. That trust was too dangerous. That belief was a luxury she couldn't afford. Now, looking at this man who'd shown up consistently, who'd chosen her and Gabriel every single day, she felt her answer change. "Time," she said finally. "Just time. And you keep doing what you're doing, which is showing up, staying, making Gabriel laugh, making me feel like I'm worth choosing instead of settling for." Alex kissed her then, soft and deep and full of promises. When they broke apart, Gabriel was making impatient noises from his bouncy seat. "I think someone wants attention," Maya said. "Someone always wants attention in this house," Alex said, but he was smiling as he went to pick up Gabriel. "Hey, buddy, did you miss us during that whole 30 seconds we weren't paying attention to you?" Gabriel gurgled happily, reaching for Alex's face with grabby hands. Watching them together, Maya felt something settle in her chest that she hadn't even realized was unsettled. This was what love looked like when it was real instead of desperate. This was what family felt like when it was chosen instead of obligated. This was what home meant when it was built by people who actually wanted to be there. "Alex," Maya said. "Yeah. Move in. Officially. Let's do this thing." The smile that spread across his face was brighter than the morning sun streaming through their windows. Really? But you're doing all the furniture assembly from now on." Alex laughed, spinning Gabriel in a circle that made the baby squeal with delight. "Deal. As long as Gabriel keeps giving me technical advice." What does it mean when someone doesn't just accept your chaos, but wants to make it their chaos too? When they choose your complicated life over their simple one? Share below about the people who've made your mess feel like home. Maya watched her boys, because that's what they were now, her boys, and realized she wasn't scared anymore. She was ready for arguments about dishes and shared bills and a name on the lease. Ready for official family photos and joint tax returns and someone to grow old with. Ready for forever, one ordinary moment at a time. 6 months into their fairy tale, Maya discovered that sometimes the biggest threat to your happiness isn't someone trying to destroy it. It's other people trying to claim credit for it. Maya was feeding Gabriel his morning bottle when the doorbell rang. Alex had left EA. Dramatically, her life had changed in less than a year. She wasn't expecting visitors. Through the peephole, Maya saw a woman she didn't recognize, mid-50s, expensively dressed, with the kind of posture that screamed money and authority. Maya opened the door with Gabriel still in her arms, immediately on guard. "Maya Rodriguez?" the woman asked, her smile sharp as a blade. "Yes, I'm Catherine Sterling, Alexander's mother." Maya felt the floor drop out from under her. Alex had mentioned his mother exactly twice. Once to say she lived in Connecticut, and once to say their relationship was complicated. He'd never suggested she might show up unannounced at their door. "Oh," Maya said, suddenly aware that she was wearing yesterday's shirt and hadn't brushed her hair yet. "Alex isn't here right now. Actually, I came to see you." Catherine's eyes moved over Maya and Gabriel with the kind of assessment that felt like being appraised. "May I come in?" Maya wanted to say no, but manners won out. "Of course." Catherine entered their small apartment like she was touring a museum exhibit, curious but clearly out of her element. Maya watched her take in the secondhand furniture, the baby gear everywhere, the general chaos of life with an infant. "You have a lovely home," Catherine said, though her tone suggested she meant the opposite. "Thank you." Maya settled Gabriel in his bouncy seat, trying to buy herself time to figure out what this woman wanted. "Can I get you coffee?" "That would be nice." As Maya prepared coffee with shaking hands, Catherine continued her inspection. "Alexander tells me you have a baby. Gabriel. He's 7 months old. And his father?" Maya, turn around, studying Catherine's face. Alex is his father. In every way that matters. But not biologically. The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks. No, not biologically. I see. Catherine accepted the coffee cup, but didn't drink. And you've been together how long? 6 months. 6 months. And he's already playing father to another man's child. That's very generous of him. Have you ever had someone use polite words to say cruel things? Someone who smiled while they cut you down? Tell me in the comments about dealing with people who hide their daggers behind manners. Maya felt anger start to build in her chest. What exactly are you trying to say, Mrs. Sterling? I'm trying to understand what's happening with my son. 6 months ago, he was focused on his business, his future. Now he's living in a studio apartment, playing house with a single mother. This isn't playing house. This is our life. Is it? Or is this Alexander trying to fix something that was broken in him? You see, my son lost a baby a few years ago. His marriage fell apart. He's been trying to replace what he lost ever since. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. That's not what this is, isn't it? A ready-made family. A baby who needs a father, a woman who needs rescuing. It's very convenient for everyone involved. Maya felt her world start to tilt. Alex loves Gabriel. He loves me. I'm sure he thinks he does. But love and need are very different things, dear. And what happens when the need is filled? When the guilt is assuaged? What happens when he realizes he's tied himself to a life that's so much smaller than what he could have? Gabriel started fussing, picking up on the tension in the room. Maya lifted him automatically, using his solid weight to ground herself. You don't know anything about our relationship, Maya said, but her voice sounded shaky even to herself. I know my son. I know he has a savior complex. I know he's never met a wounded bird he didn't try to heal. Catherine set down her untouched coffee. The question is, what happens when you're not wounded anymore? When you don't need saving? Will he still find you interesting? The door opened, and Alex walked in, stopping short when he saw his mother. Mom. His voice was flat, careful. What are you doing here? Meeting your girlfriend. She's lovely. Alex looked between his mother and Maya, clearly reading the tension. Maya, are you okay? Before Maya could answer, Catherine stood. I should go. Thank you for the coffee, Maya. It was illuminating. She kissed Alex's cheek like nothing had happened. We should have dinner soon, darling. There's so much to catch up on. After she left, the apartment felt too small, too quiet. Alex moved toward Maya, but she stepped back. What did she say to you? Alex asked. Does it matter? She said what she came to say. Maya, look at me. But Maya couldn't look at him, because looking at him meant seeing what Catherine had pointed out. The expensive watch, the designer clothes, the way he moved through the world with confidence that came from never having to worry about money or security or whether you're good enough. She thinks you're with me because you feel guilty about losing your baby, Maya said quietly. She thinks I'm a replacement family. Alex's jaw went tight. My mother has opinions about everything. That doesn't make them true. But what if they are? What if this is all some subconscious attempt to fix what went wrong before? What do you do when someone plants seeds of doubt about the best thing in your life? When they make you question whether love is real or just need wearing a pretty mask? Share below about times when outsiders tried to poison your happiness. Maya, stop. Don't let her get in your head. But it was too late. The seeds were planted, and Maya could feel them growing, spreading doubt through every happy memory they'd built together. I need some time to think, she said, not meeting his eyes. Maya, please, Alex, just give me some space. The look on his face broke her heart, but Maya couldn't take the words back. Catherine had opened a door in her mind that Maya wasn't sure she could close. She spent 3 days avoiding the man she loved, until Gabriel got sick and she realized some fights aren't worth winning if you lose everything that matters. Maya had been giving Alex the cold shoulder for 3 days, and it was killing both of them. He tried calling, texting, showing up with groceries and offers to talk. She'd been polite but distant, treating him like a helpful neighbor instead of the man who'd been sharing her bed and raising her child. The doubt Catherine had planted was growing like poison in Maya's mind. Every kind gesture from Alex, now felt calculated. Every moment of tenderness seemed like evidence of his guilt complex rather than genuine love. Then Gabriel spiked a fever. It started as fussiness during his afternoon nap and escalated quickly to 102 degrees and listless crying that nothing could soothe. Maya called the pediatrician, who said to bring him in immediately. Standing in her apartment, holding her burning hot baby and fumbling for her car keys with shaking hands, Maya realized she couldn't do this alone. Not because she wasn't capable, but because she didn't want to be alone anymore. She'd gotten used to having backup, having someone who cared about Gabriel as much as she did. She called Alex. Maya, is everything okay? Gabriel's sick. Really sick. I need to take him to the hospital. I'm coming to get you. Alex, you don't have to. Like hell I don't. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He made it in 7. Alex walked into the apartment and immediately took charge, grabbing the diaper bag, checking that Maya had her insurance cards, lifting Gabriel with gentle hands that automatically checked his temperature against his own forehead. He's burning up, Alex said, his face tight with worry. Let's go. In the car, Alex drove with careful speed while Maya sat in the back next to Gabriel's car seat, trying not to panic. Gabriel was listless, barely responding to her voice, and Maya felt fear claw at her throat. He's going to be okay, Alex said, meeting her eyes in the rearview mirror. Kids spike fevers all the time. His body is just fighting something off. How do you know that? I read every parenting book I could find after that first night. I wanted to be prepared for situations like this. Have you ever had someone love your child enough to prepare for their worst moments? Someone who studied how to help before you even asked them to? Tell me in the comments about the people who've shown up for your family when it counted most. At the hospital, Alex handled the paperwork while Maya held Gabriel. When a nurse called them back, Alex didn't hesitate. He followed them into the exam room like he belonged there. The doctor examined Gabriel thoroughly, asking questions about his symptoms, his eating habits, his normal behavior. Alex answered as many questions as Maya did, providing details she might have forgotten in her panic. Looks like a typical viral infection, the doctor said finally. His temperature is high, but everything else looks normal. We'll give him some medicine to bring the fever down and monitor him for a few hours. Maya felt relief flood through her so powerfully she nearly collapsed. Alex caught her arm, steadying her. He's okay, Alex said softly. He's going to be fine. That's when Maya started crying, not from fear anymore, but from the sudden clarity of what the past 3 days had cost her. She'd been so busy protecting herself from potential hurt that she'd almost lost the most real thing in her life. Alex, I'm sorry, she said through tears. I'm so sorry for shutting you out. Maya, no, let me say this. Your mother got in my head, and I let her. I let her make me doubt something I know is real. Alex wrapped his arms around her, careful not to disturb Gabriel, who was already looking better as the fever medicine kicked in. My mother is good at finding people's weaknesses and exploiting them, Alex said quietly. She's been doing it my whole life. Why didn't you warn me? Because I hoped she'd stay out of our business. Because I didn't want her poison to touch what we have. Maya pulled back to look at him directly. Tell me the truth. Am I a replacement family? Are you with me because of what you lost? Alex was quiet for a long moment, considering his answer carefully. Do you want the complicated truth or the simple truth? The complicated truth. Yes, what happened with Sarah and the baby I lost changed me. It made me realize how precious family is, how quickly it can be taken away. It made me more aware of what I want in life. Maya felt her heart sink, but Alex continued, that doesn't mean you're a replacement. It means I recognize what I had with you faster than I might have otherwise. I knew not to take it for granted. And the simple truth, Alex cupped her face in his hands, his gray eyes serious and clear. I love you. Not because you need me, not because Gabriel needs a father, not because I'm trying to fix my past. I love you because you're strong and beautiful, and you make me want to be better than I am. I love Gabriel because he's part of you, and because watching him grow is like watching a miracle happen every day. What's the difference between loving someone because they need you and loving someone because you choose them? Between fixing your past and building your future? Share your thoughts below about the foundation of real love. I love you too, Maya whispered. I love you so much it scares me. Good. Being scared means it matters. Gabriel stirred in Maya's arms, opening his eyes and looking around with more alertness than he'd shown all day. When he saw Alex, he smiled, his first real smile since getting sick. Hey, buddy, Alex said softly. Feeling better? Gabriel reached for Alex with grabby hands, and Maya passed him over without hesitation. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not without complications, but real and chosen and strong enough to weather storms. Even storms that came in the form of disapproving mothers and seeds of doubt. 1 year after he found her broken in a hospital hallway, Maya stood in a courtroom where Alex was about to become Gabriel's father in the eyes of the law, and where her ex-husband was about to learn that some mistakes can't be undone. The family court waiting room buzzed with nervous energy from couples and lawyers preparing for various proceedings. Maya sat between Alex and her attorney, trying to calm her racing heart. Today was the day Alex would officially adopt Gabriel, making their family legal in every sense that mattered. Gabriel, now walking and babbling constantly, was more interested in the vending machine than the life-changing legal proceedings about to take place. At 13 months old, he had Alex's patient personality and Maya's stubborn determination, plus an independent streak that kept both his parents on their toes. Nervous? Alex asked, taking Maya's hand. Terrified, she admitted. What if David changed his mind? What if he shows up and contests the adoption? He won't. He signed away his parental rights 6 months ago. This is just paperwork now. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was going to go wrong. Life had been too good lately. Alex had moved in permanently. Gabriel was healthy and thriving, and Maya had started taking online classes toward her nursing degree with Alex's encouragement and financial support. When things were this perfect, the universe usually had other plans. Rodriguez Sterling family, the bailiff called. Maya felt a flutter at the hyphenated name. Not because she'd changed hers yet, but because that's how they'd filed the adoption papers. As a family unit, as people who belonged together, they gathered Gabriel and their paperwork and walked toward the courtroom. But Maya stopped short when she saw who was sitting in the back row. David. He looked different, thinner, older, wearing a cheap suit that suggested his life hadn't improved much since he'd walked out. When he saw Maya, he stood up with a nervous smile. Maya, can we talk? We have nothing to talk about, Maya said, but her voice shook. You gave up your rights to Gabriel. I know, but I've been thinking. You're too late, Alex said, stepping closer to Maya's side. His voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Gabriel is my son now. That's what I want to talk about, David said, his desperation obvious. I made a mistake. I want to be part of his life again. Have you ever had someone try to reclaim what they threw away after you'd built something better? Someone who showed up demanding access to your happiness after contributing nothing to your struggle? Tell me in the comments about dealing with people who think regret equals second chances. David, you signed legal documents. Maya's lawyer interjected. You can't just change your mind because you're having feelings. I was going through something. I wasn't ready to be a father then, but I am now. Maya felt anger rise in her throat like bile. You weren't ready? Gabriel needed a father from the moment he was born. Alex was ready. Alex has been changing diapers and walking the floor at 3 a.m. and teaching Gabriel to walk. Where were you when Gabriel took his first steps? When he said his first word? What was his first word? David asked, and the question revealed everything Maya needed to know about how little he'd thought about his son in the past year. Dada, Maya said, looking at Alex. He was looking right at Alex when he said it. David's face crumpled. Maya, please. I know I screwed up, but he's still my blood. Blood doesn't make you a father, Alex said quietly. Showing up makes you a father. Being there when it's hard makes you a father. Loving them enough to stay makes you a father. The courtroom doors opened, and the bailiff called their names again. Maya looked at David one last time, seeing him clearly for what he was, not a threat to her happiness, but a reminder of how far she'd come. Gabriel has a father, she said firmly. He has a man who chose him, who loves him, who's been there for every important moment of his life. That's not you, David. That will never be you. Inside the courtroom, the proceedings were surprisingly simple. The judge reviewed the paperwork, asked Alex a few questions about his commitment to Gabriel, and praised Maya for creating a stable home environment. "Mr. Sterling," the judge said, "do you understand that adoption creates the same legal responsibilities as biological parenthood? That you're committing to this child for life, regardless of what happens in your relationship with his mother?" "Yes, Your Honor. I understand completely. And you're prepared for that responsibility?" Alex looked at Gabriel, who was trying to eat the corner of a legal document, then at Maya, who was holding her breath. "Your Honor, I've been Gabriel's father since the night he was born. Today just makes it official." The judge smiled, the first genuine warmth Maya had seen from her. "In that case, I'm happy to grant this adoption. Congratulations, Mr. Sterling. Gabriel is legally your son." Maya burst into tears. Happy tears, relief tears, tears for the family they'd built from nothing but hope and determination. Alex wrapped both her and Gabriel in his arms, and for a moment, the courtroom faded away. When they emerged 20 minutes later with the official adoption certificate, David was gone. "How do you feel?" Alex asked as they walked to the car. "Like we can handle anything," Maya said, surprising herself with how true it felt. Gabriel babbled something that sounded like family, and both adults laughed. "Smart kid," Alex said, buckling Gabriel into his car seat. "He knows what's important." What does it mean when someone chooses your child so completely that they make it legal? When they commit not just to you, but to your whole future. Share below about the people who've made your family complete by choice rather than chance. Maya watched Alex fuss over Gabriel's car seat straps and felt overwhelming gratitude for the path that had led them here. A year ago, she'd been abandoned and broken. Today, she was part of a family built on choice and commitment and love that had proven itself strong enough to weather every storm. "Where to now?" Alex asked, starting the car. "Home," Maya said. "Let's go home." She thought the adoption was the biggest moment of their year, until Alex got down on one knee in their tiny kitchen and asked the question that would make everything perfect official. 2 months after Gabriel's adoption was finalized, Maya was starting to feel like she could finally relax. Their family was legal, stable, and happier than she'd ever imagined possible. Gabriel was walking everywhere and getting into everything. Alex had been promoted to senior partner at his firm, and Maya was halfway through her first semester of nursing school. Life was good. Life was exactly what she dreamed of during those dark nights when she'd thought she'd lost everything. Which is why she should have known Alex was planning something. It started with small things, mysterious phone calls he'd taken in another room, sudden interest in her class schedule, questions about what kind of flower she liked. Maya assumed he was planning something for her birthday, which was still 2 months away. She was wrong. The night it happened, Maya was studying at their kitchen table while Gabriel played with blocks on the floor and Alex cooked dinner. It was their usual Tuesday routine, comfortable, domestic, perfectly ordinary. "Gabriel, buddy, come help Daddy with something," Alex said, setting down his wooden spoon. Maya looked up from her textbook, smiling at the easy way Alex had adapted to being called Daddy. Gabriel had started using the word consistently after the adoption, L. Gabriel toddled over to Alex, babbling excitedly. Alex picked him up and whispered something in his ear that made the toddler giggle. "What are you two plotting?" Maya asked suspiciously. "Nothing," Alex said, but his smile was too bright, too nervous. "Gabriel just has something he wants to give you." Alex set Gabriel down, and the little boy walked carefully to Maya, holding something small in his chubby fist. When he reached her chair, he opened his hand to reveal a small velvet box. Maya's heart stopped. "What is this?" she whispered, looking between Gabriel and Alex. "Open it," Alex said softly. With shaking hands, Maya opened the box to find the most beautiful ring she'd ever seen. Not huge or flashy, but perfect in its elegant simplicity. A classic solitaire that would look right on her hand whether she was changing diapers or working a hospital. "Maya," Alex said, and when she looked up, he was down on one knee beside her chair. "Alex, let me say this, okay? I've been practicing." Maya nodded, tears already starting. "1.5 years ago, I met a woman who was the strongest person I'd ever encountered. She was facing the worst night of her life alone, and she was still fierce, still fighting, still putting her baby's needs before her own fear. Gabriel clapped his hands like he understood the importance of the moment. I fell in love with that strength. I fell in love with the way you made the impossible look possible. I fell in love with the way you turned survival into grace, desperation into determination. Maya was crying openly now, but she didn't care. Then I fell in love with the way you loved Gabriel, completely, protectively, like he was the best thing that had ever happened to you. I fell in love with the way you made a home out of nothing, a family out of hope. Alex, I'm not done, he said, smiling through his own tears. I fell in love with the way you challenged me to be better, the way you made me want to deserve you and Gabriel. I fell in love with the way you kissed me good morning, even when Gabriel kept us up all night. I fell in love with the way you study at this table while Gabriel plays at your feet, building your future while taking care of his present. Have you ever had someone see all your pieces, the broken ones and the strong ones, and love the whole picture? Someone who fell in love with how you handle your worst days, not just your best ones? Tell me in the comments about love that sees everything and chooses everything. Maya Rodriguez, you saved me as much as I like to think I saved you. You gave me a purpose, a family, a home that means more than any house I could buy. You gave me Gabriel, who is the best thing I've ever had the privilege to call mine. Gabriel toddled closer, sensing the emotion in the room, and Alex scooped him up with one arm while staying on one knee. So, I'm asking you, in front of our son, in the kitchen where we've had 1,000 ordinary moments that turn out to be everything, will you marry me? Will you let me love you and Gabriel for the rest of my life? Will you make this family official in every possible way? Maya looked at this man who'd proven himself in every way that mattered, holding the baby who called him daddy, asking her to marry him in the place where they'd built their real life together. Not in some fancy restaurant or romantic getaway, but here, surrounded by dinner preparations and textbooks and toy blocks. It was perfect. Yes, she said, laughing through her tears. Yes, of course, yes. Alex slipped the ring onto her finger, her left hand this time, and it fit perfectly. Then he stood and kissed her, with Gabriel giggling between them and the smell of dinner burning on the stove. I love you, Maya said against his mouth. I love you too, both of you, forever. Gabriel chose that moment to say, Mama, Dada, and point at the smoke coming from the forgotten dinner. Good catch, buddy, Alex said, rushing to turn off the stove. We can't burn down the house the same night we get engaged. Maya looked at her ring, then at her boys trying to salvage dinner, and felt her heart overflow with happiness, so complete it felt almost impossible. What does it feel like when someone proposes not just marriage, but a lifetime of ordinary moments made extraordinary by love? When they ask you to be their family in the place where you've already been living like family. Share below about proposals that felt like coming home. So, Alex said, opening windows to clear the smoke. Want to order pizza to celebrate our engagement? Best idea you've had all day, Maya said. Hey, I thought the proposal was pretty good too. Gabriel clapped his hands in agreement, and Maya realized this was what happily ever after actually looked like. Not perfect, but perfectly theirs. 2 years after she'd been abandoned in a hospital hallway, Maya walked down the aisle toward the man who'd turned her worst night into the beginning of her best life, carrying the child who'd made them both whole. Maya stood at the back of the small church, smoothing Gabriel's tiny tuxedo one more time. At 2.5, he was the perfect ring bearer. If by perfect you meant likely to wander off mid-ceremony or announce loudly that he needed to use the potty at the most important moment. Ready, buddy? Maya asked, adjusting his bow tie. Daddy, Gabriel said, pointing toward the altar where Alex stood, waiting in a classic black tux, looking more handsome than any man had a right to look. That's right, we're going to see Daddy. Maya took a deep breath, still amazed that this day was real. The church was small, filled with the people who actually mattered. Alex's father, who defied Catherine to attend, Maya's mother and sister, who'd flown in from Florida. A handful of close friends, and the neighbors who'd become like family. Catherine Sterling was notably absent, having made her feelings about the marriage clear in a letter that Maya had read once and thrown away. Some people, Maya had learned, were determined to stay miserable, and you couldn't save them from themselves. The music started, and Gabriel began his walk down the aisle, clutching the ring pillow with intense concentration. Halfway to the altar, he spotted Alex and abandoned all pretense of wedding protocol, running toward his father with arms outstretched. The congregation laughed as Alex scooped Gabriel up, kissing his forehead and whispering something that made the little boy giggle. Alex settled Gabriel on his hip, clearly planning to hold him through the ceremony, and Maya felt her heart swell with love for this man who'd never once treated Gabriel like an inconvenience or obligation. Then the wedding march began, and Maya started her own walk down the aisle. She'd chosen a simple dress, elegant but practical, something she could wear again, something that felt like her. Her bouquet was made of white roses, the same flowers Alex had sent to her hospital room 2 years ago. As she walked toward Alex, Maya thought about the journey that had brought them here. The broken girl who'd driven herself to the hospital in labor seemed like a different person now. Someone Maya remembered with compassion but didn't recognize in herself anymore. Alex watched her approach with tears in his eyes, Gabriel babbling excitedly in his arms. When Maya reached the altar, Gabriel launched himself toward her, and she caught him automatically, both of them laughing. "We're all here," the minister said with a smile. "Let's begin." The ceremony was short and sweet, focused on the promises they were making rather than elaborate traditions. When it came time for vows, Alex spoke first. "Maya, 2 years ago, you were the strongest person I'd ever met, facing an impossible situation with grace I didn't know existed. Today, you're the strongest person I know, building a life that makes everyone around you want to be better." Gabriel reached for Alex's boutonniere, and Alex shifted him automatically, continuing without missing a beat. "You taught me that family isn't something you're born into. It's something you choose, something you build, something you fight for every single day. You gave me Gabriel, who is the best son I could have asked for. You gave me a home that's worth coming back to, a purpose that goes beyond myself." Maya was crying openly now, but she didn't care. "I promise to choose you every day, in the big moments and the small ones. I promise to be the partner you deserve and the father Gabriel needs. I promise to love you through 3 a.m. feedings and teenage attitudes and whatever life throws at us next." When it was Maya's turn, she looked at Alex holding their son and felt words pour out of her heart. "Alex, you showed up when I needed someone most, but you stayed because you wanted to be there, not because I needed you to be. You loved Gabriel before he was yours. You loved me when I was broken, and you've built a life with us that's better than anything I ever imagined possible." Gabriel was now trying to eat her bouquet, but Maya continued. "You taught me that love isn't about being saved, it's about being seen. You see my strength when I feel weak, my potential when I doubt myself, my worth when the world tries to tell me I'm not enough. Have you ever found someone who made you believe in your own worth? Someone who saw your value before you did and helped you see it too? Tell me in the comments about the people who've changed how you see yourself. I promise to build this life with you as equal partners. I promise to love you through business trips and bad days and whatever challenges come next. I promise to raise Gabriel to know what real love looks like because he's watched us choose each other every single day." The ring exchange was complicated by Gabriel's insistence on helping, which meant trying to put Maya's ring on his own finger first. The congregation laughed as Alex patiently redirected their son while sliding Maya's wedding band into place. "By the power vested in me," the minister said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. Alex, you may kiss your bride." The kiss was soft and sweet and interrupted by Gabriel demanding his own kiss for both parents. When they broke apart, all 3 of them were laughing. "Ladies and gentlemen," the minister announced, "I present to you the Sterling family." As they walked back down the aisle together, Alex carrying Gabriel, who was waving at everyone like he was the star of the show, Maya felt overwhelming gratitude for the path that had led them here. 2 years ago, she'd thought her life was ending. Instead, it had been beginning. The reception was small and perfect, held in the church fellowship hall, with homemade decorations and food from their favorite local restaurant. Gabriel charmed everyone by insisting on dancing with both his parents, his tiny hands in theirs as they swayed to music. During the father-son dance, Maya watched Alex spin Gabriel around the dance floor and felt her heart overflow. This was what love looked like when it was real, when it was chosen, when it was built on foundation strong enough to last. What does it mean when someone doesn't just marry you, but marries your whole life? When they choose your complications along with your love. Share below about marriages that feel like coming home. Later, as they tucked Gabriel into bed in the hotel room adjoining their honeymoon suite, Alex said quietly, "Thank you." For what? For letting me be part of this. For trusting me with Gabriel, with your heart, with your future. Maya kissed him softly. "Thank you for showing me that I was worth choosing." Gabriel stirred his sleep, mumbling, "Mama, Daddy," and both adults smiled. They'd built something beautiful from nothing but hope and determination and love that refused to give up. And this was just the beginning.